Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all our Bharat Media viewers from all around the globe. I'm your host, Dee Zutshi, welcoming you to a very, very special Bharat TV exclusive. Today, I have a special treat for you. I'd like you to meet Mr. Ravishankar Venkateswaran. He is the director of the first ever animated feature film in the Sanskrit language. Yes, my dear friends, you heard it right. He is the first ever director of the first ever animated feature film. It's a full-length feature film in the Sanskrit language. Mr. Ravishankar ji is a regular corporate worker by day who moonlights as a filmmaker and has come up with this absolutely brilliant idea that he executed in his Sanskrit film. And the title of the film is Punyakoti. Mr. Ravishankar ji, hearty welcome to Bharat Media to you, and we welcome you to this conversation.
Thank you, Deepika. Thank you, Bharat TV. It's an absolute privilege and honor to be here and spending time with you.
Great, great. Let's dive right into it because I'm sure our viewers are as excited, curious, and keen to hear more about this movie and the making of this animated film as much as I am. So let's dive right into it. I'm going to ask you the big white elephant question in the room. So Punyakoti, you made it in the Sanskrit language. Why Sanskrit?
I was working in Infosys in their business process management side. And we had a Sanskrit workshop at Infosys, and I realized that if Sanskrit was made of sounds and not of words, so it had very few sounds. If I remember, it is about 1947 different dhatu sounds, the root sounds, which get organized using an algorithm to make words. And I said, if any other country had a language like that, they would go and celebrate it, saying that, like, look, we invented this language, you know. And I discovered it after I was 40. And I said, like, I have to do something for this language, right? Like, I mean, how can a whole generation just miss the point? Like, they can just walk away, and it was so striking. And I got exposed to Sanskrit literature, to Kalidasa, and so many works in Sanskrit. That I have a master's in English literature. And when I saw the quality, the depth, the wordplay, the similes, the amount of richness of the literature, I could really, really appreciate it. And I said, like, what am I going to do for this language? And like, how do I take it to the next generation? And how do we get it out of the closet? And I said, I already had written a picture book on Punyakoti, and I had given it to be translated to Sanskrit and be published in Sanskrit to the Samskrita Bharati. And it occurred to me, why don't we take this book as the subject and make a movie out of it? And I always wanted to make an animated movie, and this was my opportunity to do something, but I had no clue, not even the slightest idea how I'm going to do it.
Right. And I want to ask you. I want to dive a little deeper into it in a little bit, though. I want to go back. So, the idea, because I wanted to ask you what the inspiration of the movie was, which you told me you wrote a picture book about it. By Punyakoti, and how did you write a picture book about Punyakoti? Before the fact that it was going to become a movie or Sanskrit or anything came into the picture, you actually wrote a picture book. Tell me about that. Infosys, writing, picture books. Tell me how all of that came about.
Okay. So the interesting thing is, like, I stay about 15 kilometers away from Infosys, and we take a bus to go to the office. And we have a good 1 hour, thanks to Bangalore traffic, along the way. And we are friends, and we keep talking in the bus. We are like small kids who go to school, and it's a wonderful campus at Infosys, and some of the best conversations that I've had in my life have been had inside the campus at Infosys. And I had a friend who told me if I've ever heard of the Kannada folk song called Punyakoti once in the bus, and he told me the story, and I had tears in my eyes because it embodies all that is so wonderful about our culture, that you should honor your word. And the cow promises that it will go back, feed its calf, and come back, and still be a meal for the tiger, and it honors its word. And it goes back and tells the other cows, please take care of my daughter. I will go honor my word and become a prey to the tiger. I said, like, this is wonderful. And I had tears in my eyes, and I said, like, I should tell this story. And I told my friend, you know what? If the tiger has come out of its natural habitat, and the cow has come out of its natural habitat, as it is depicted in the story, maybe there is a backstory that we don't know about this. And maybe I should just imagine that and write a story. And my friend said, good idea, go ahead and do that. And that day when we were having chai, one of my colleagues was telling me that in the Masai Mara, the elephants that are brought up without proper parental care, which is like one of the parents is missing, tend to live erratically. And this is what we do to nature. And it suddenly struck me that why don't I connect these two stories and write a new story about it? And I said, it wouldn't take much time. So I just wrote a story, and I liked it. I started my career as a copywriter and a script writer. So I have some exposure to the writing world before I did my MBA and came in, and it was just a hobby. So as a hobby, I wrote a picture book, and I said, like, I'll just publish it. And then the book became the prototype for the movie, and that's how it all took off.
Oh my God, what a wonderful story. That is just so
it's a series of accidents, okay? So
exactly, that is exactly what I was going to say. It's just serendipitous circumstances that kind of strung together and brought you, to where you are today. That is such an amazing and such an inspiring and heartwarming story. Okay, Mr. Ravishankarji, tell me a little bit about... So, you go from a very noble thought of, okay, I'm going to make a movie out of this amazing story with a, great context and great background and, very strong storylines. How did you decide to make it an animated movie? Now, if you told me that, you were working in the animation department of so-and-so ad agency, and, I would have said, okay, that makes perfect sense. Obviously you like to challenge yourself, extra, because now you're taking on animation, which is not your, area of expertise. So tell me how that came through, and how did you decide that you wanted to make it an animated film and also a full-length feature film? This is not a 5-minute film. It's not a short film. It's not a 10-minute film. So tell me about the length, and tell me about the format, the animation. How did that happen?
So this has a long history as to how it became the way it became. This was in 1995, and I was offered the job of a trainee in a multimedia studio in Bangalore to write a script for an interactive CD-ROM. And this is the era when CD-ROMs used to run at 1x speeds, and there was just 4 MB RAM, and you have to be extremely careful with every pixel because, like, it's very, very frugal. And like I got an exposure to animation there, and we had a visitor from Australia in the company, and the person said that, "Oh, Indians, they make shoddy work," and that
Oh,
stuck to
ouch.
me. And I said, like, someday I will make an animated movie that the world will see, and will not call it shoddy. Okay, so
Right.
this stuck on, and it took me a good 20 years later. I did make start and stop attempts in between, but they never worked out. But like, I never knew how to make a movie, right? Like, I just had great desire and ambition and all those stuff, but I never had the means or the knowledge or nothing of that sort. So, not to speak about the funds, right? Like, I was just like a regular salaried guy paying my EMI and all the stuff. And I had so when this idea came, I of course knew a few people who do animation. I had a few friends, and I told them, and all of them told me that I was crazy because I know they told me that it costs a lot of money to make animation and all those stuff. So in my simplistic head, I just thought that how a movie could be about 100 minutes, and if I can find 100 people who will make 1 minute of the movie, and if I can string them all together, I will get a full length feature film. I just have to find 100 animators in the whole of India. Okay, so it was a very, I had oversimplified the whole thing, but then, of course, I started learning about it. Then I realized that it's not that easy, that an animated frame goes through at least 30 departments in a proper studio before it can reach your eyes. And it's very complicated. The technology is like very difficult, and you need specialized software for it, and you need multiple skill sets to kind of put together animation. I didn't even know the terms that they use. Like, so they used to come and say, like, how are you going to do the layout? How are you going to do the rigging? How are you? I said, I don't know. who is going to write your songs in Sanskrit? Who is going to give you music in Sanskrit? Right? Who will speak the dialogues? I said, I have no idea. Okay, but I know I want to make this movie. And slowly I started discovering that, like, okay, this is the process. This is how they do it. Of course, on process, thanks to my exposure to working in Infosys, I had a very good idea about how a process works. And they told me that's also the problem. Nobody follows a process. Okay? And so you are going to suffer a lot.
So one so Infosys versus a creative set of people, probably, different mindsets.
So then I came out with this. I said, so the script was ready. I had the good fortune of looking through some of the scripts that I loved in the Hollywood cinema. And like, I looked at how they wrote their scripts. Then I started writing a script based on that. I started narrating the story. Then, like, 10 people that I would meet in the industry, one of them would buy into the idea. So we started some initial sketching. We started a website called www.punyakoti.com. Then we started a Facebook page. Then we started asking for animators to come and join us. And we said that it is going to be an open project. You come, you enroll, and let's all work as freelancers. And later on, they told me none of them believed that this movie was going to get made. They were just entertaining me. Okay, so they just would take my request, do something for me. Okay,
so because just humoring you, huh?
Only I could see the movie in my head, and no one else was, and nobody believed in the idea. And thanks to this, and I never knew, and nobody was willing to work with me for almost a year until I met Sri Mohandas Pai. I was also in parallel looking for people who could fund the movie, and somebody suggested that I should go and meet Sri Mohandas Pai, who was ex-CFO of Infosys, and he was also a board member of Infosys, and everybody said that he's a philanthropist. I could go see him. I met him. He suggested that, first of all, don't go with a very big budget, because first of all, you will not raise the money and you'll get disappointed and your project will go nowhere. Bring down the budget, find an economical way of doing it so that it is at least feasible, and give it a shot, and it should have a chance to become real. Like if you start with a project that was 10 times over the budget that you can accumulate, you will never do that project. So be
Correct.
realistic. And the second advice he gave me was crowdfund the project. So get a lot of people involved, get the project off the ground, and then let's see. So I took both his advices. He recommended Wishberry, which was a platform, and we went in for crowdfunding. And at that point of time, they told me that the largest crowdfunded project was 27 lakhs. That is all they could raise for a project. And,
wow.
And they asked me how much I needed. I told them 1 crore. They said it's impossible. And so they said how much. I said I will do 20 lakhs with my confidence, and 20 lakhs that I had in the kind of people who believed in me. So we, for the first time on Wishberry, went for a funding target of 40 lakhs for an animated project.
Very lofty.
Very lofty. And on the last day, we ended up with raising 41 lakhs. It became the largest crowdfunded project on a platform, that too for an animated project, for a niche project like Sanskrit. And of course, we had the blessings of Mohandas Paiji, who became a co-producer by putting in some money into the crowdfund. And it was a big success. And then when people heard that like we have successfully crowdfunded the initial sum, then then there was a glimpse of hope, and a lot of the animators then kind of said, looks like something is working in favor of this project, so we will come and join hands. Like
so
until then,
all the non-believers were converted.
Converted, exactly. And later on, they told me that they were more interested in the money that had come in than in the project. But like, yeah, it was my passion, but for them, it was their profession, right? Like, so then I kind of like very boldly told them, okay, we'll not take 100 people, we'll take 30 people, we'll create a core team, and I will create folders for every scene. And we will treat every scene as a short film. And we'll work on it, put together 30 short films that will connect together. It was 30, each scene was converted into a separate project, and we did 30 projects and we stringed them together. And we all created Google folders. Adobe had given us free licenses of their products to work on the animation. A lot of things worked in our favor. And we had a core team, which was wonderful. And because we were not a single studio, we could pick and choose some of the best talents that was available from every studio to work on the project independently as freelancers. So, and that's how we string the movie together.
Wow. So what a unique concept. So right now, my mind is blown because I'm hearing that it's a crowd-funded movie. It's a crowd-produced movie. And I can't even begin to, I have some project management experience, so I can't even begin to imagine the complexity of managing a project of this nature. Is that where your skill set came in? You were describing your folder structure and how you put everything together. Was that your big contribution to the execution of the project?
Yeah, so I not only was the writer of the project, I was the line producer of the project. I was the director of the project, and I had to pick up skills in animation and drawing and things so that I can visually explain it to the rest of them. Luckily, I had the support of my wife, who was taking care of all the administration, whether the payments went, payments did not go. And all of those aspects of it. I had school friends who were directors in companies, who were CEOs of companies, who came and said, okay, we will set up the bank account, we will manage the auditing, we'll do the accounting and all those things. And I had friends and colleagues from Infosys who were keen to work on some of the aspects of public relations, managing all my social media. Then I had friends who were Sanskrit. So there was a Sanskrit club in Infosys. So they came together, and there was a filmmaking club in Infosys. So they came together to support me. And so I had like help coming in from unknown quarters. Like I would just wake up and somebody would call me and say that I heard that you're doing this project. What help do you need? And
Wow.
that's when I realized if you take on something really big and you really get like help from everywhere. And uh, all I did was like, I don't know if you can see, there is a whiteboard on this side. So, and all the production happened out of my bedroom. Okay. The computer was in front of me and I had a very large whiteboard, which I had cut into two portions. One related to all my work related tasks that I have to complete. On the other side of the board was all the Punyakoti related work that I had to complete every day.
Oh
And
my
we just went
goodness.
on.
That is
So,
two full-time jobs that you're
yeah,
doing at the
yeah.
same time, really.
So it had an impact on my health, as you can see. Like I was not sleeping much. I was doing too much of this one. I was taking on too much stress on myself. But that was all worth it, right? Like it was all for a cause that was worth it.
Right. Like you said, you obviously called in a lot of favors, your school friends, your peers. But I feel like if the person across from you feels and senses your passion, I think they get on board very quickly because now, they are sharing your dream. So obviously, you did a really good job of vocalizing and sharing your dream and inspired a bunch of people to get in on it. So that is very impressive.
And for that, Deepthi, I think the one lesson that I've learned from my mentors is like having absolute integrity. And many people came and told me that so many of the things that I say I will do, I do actually, even from very small things. And that gave confidence to the people that like, if this guy says that he is going to take ownership of something, there is a chance that it will get done. Like people had a better, what do you call it, a better faith that it could get done. So I was, so, and that is what I would insist for a lot of people. Many people come and say, oh, we also have dreams. We want to do all of them. I said, like, the only thing that you need to work on is your integrity. Right? If people get the confidence that you would do what you say you would do,
Right.
they will back you up on anything that you want.
Right, right. And it is such an important point that you're raising, especially in a context of a project like this, where, you could very clearly have a bunch of people who say something, but, or falsely commit to something and are not able to deliver it, or, for some reason unable to deliver or didn't want to deliver it and end up not being able to do their part. And that can cause a lot of downward failures. So that's a very good point that you made. I'm very inspired by it. But I do want to ask you something. So in a project like this, how do you ensure quality control? Divergent skill sets. An animator can be an experienced 20-year animator. An animator could have been right out of graphic design animation school. How did you bring all of that together? Like you said, it's 100 or 30 short films, but then they have to look cohesive. How did you knit them together?
Sure. One was we kind of gave test projects to people. So we'll send one file, we'll ask them to do it, we'll get it. We'll get an experience, and I can tell you very confidently, 9 out of 10, they will not go through the final test. Some of them will not even come back to you. So I had all those challenges that you would go through in a regular project, but the ones that qualified and came in were all good. And we had one core team. Like there was one person controlling the quality of everything, and this person was very versatile. And he was hands-on. The animation director, Girish, who worked with me, was hands-on. So he could kind of pick up and fix small things. We didn't have to go back because the rework cycles could become very, very expensive. So, so we used to actually take one project in a week and fix everything that could be fixed. And like I took on like renaming. I must have renamed some 20,000 files. And organized them, managed Excel sheets. We had naming conventions that was clear. So the entire database was in my head. So the library, so I used to say, a shot 236, 3/4 angle, this kind of a thing, that kind of an eye movement. I think we already have it here. So let's
Oh my
bring that on.
goodness.
So, and
You
then we
obviously
had,
have a photographic memory then.
only for this project, okay, because it was my passion. Because I was the one who was getting all the input, clearing all the input, getting through all this one, organizing them, putting them in the folder. So I was touching these files multiple times in a day. So I could remember. And like all the rest of them were visual thinkers. So it was very difficult for animators to kind of name a file in a particular way or some of those things. So my exposure to working in an IT-enabled industry, my exposure to systems, functions, processes, all of this, like quality, people management, and leadership, everything. I mean, I owe a lot to my experience in the IT industry and especially to Infosys for this.
Oh, that's wonderful. Your words of organization are like music to my ears, because file naming convention and incorrectly naming files is my pet peeve too. So your words are absolute music to my ears.
Yes, yes.
Okay, let's talk a little bit. I'm going to go away a little bit from the technicality, but then I'm going to come back around because I have a ton of questions to ask you about the talent and the creative side of the movie, the on-screen talent or the on-voice talent. But before that, I would like to ask you, so as you were making the film, who, according to you, was going to be the target audience? Who's the target audience that you were making this film for?
Okay, so I was very clear that the target audience are going to be everybody who does not have an exposure to Sanskrit. Okay. So, because I wanted people to kind of go, listen, consume the cinema, see the sounds, see the visuals, hear the sounds, get the emotion, and get the dialogue, the intonation, get the music, and feel that this is a language that they can grasp and that they can grasp the story. And to me, this was my student project. I am no expert in Sanskrit, neither am I an expert in filmmaking, neither am I an expert in animation, or neither am I an expert in the production process. Okay, so this was my student project in that sense. I was learning how to do things when I was like building the plane. The plane was still flying and I was still building it. And I was learning along the way. And I said, I can tell you confidently, if I knew all these things before, I would have made 4 movies with the amount of effort that I put in. Because three out of 4, it did not work. Only the 4th time it worked. And the people who knew were not willing to share that information with me. So it took a lot of effort to kind of figure out things by myself. But that being said, the target audience to me were people who were for the first time getting exposed to Sanskrit. And my intention is to make learning modules out of Punyakoti, out of the scenes that are there in Punyakoti, and put it out there and say, you don't know Sanskrit, listen to the dialogues and we will explain what's happening there. And you will be able to relate to the dialogues and you will be able to learn Sanskrit. Because we never learn our mother tongue like saying A, B, C, D or the grammar rules or anything like that. Unfortunately, Sanskrit is now being taught in schools like that. Like nobody learns a language, their mother tongue like that, right? Like many of us picked up language because like it got spoken by people around us and we could relate to the emotions that we're saying. So I am very clear. It is the 7 billion people in this world who are not exposed to Sanskrit are my target audience.
That is such a wonderful way to learn a new language too, though. And like you said, that is exactly how I've learned some languages that I did not know growing up. Spanish language learning. The best way to learn it is by watching Spanish language movies or the telenovelas and things like that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think that that thinking is spot on. And I'm going to ask you a little bit more about how you're going to execute that when we talk about your future work. So I'm really glad you brought this up. At this point, I want to ask you, sir, if you anticipated this movie winning national level awards. You said for you this is a student level project. Did you ever anticipate it becoming such a success?
For me, just getting the movie made was like itself a reward in itself, right? Like, so I was like, let me just get done with the movie, right? Like it's been 4 years or 4.5 years, I'm struggling, let me get this, let me just get it out there. And that's all that I wanted at that point of time. I never expected it to win this kind of accolades and things like that when I was making the movie. In fact, imagine the first person who saw the movie was the editor in its totality, because he was the one who had all the files in one place, right? So I had only seen the shots, and like he called me and he said, "Boss, this is award-winning stuff. You should come and see it." And my editor was in Cochin. Okay, so I took an overnight bus from Bangalore, went to Cochin because I was so keen, and he showed the movie to me without the sound effects, without this one. That was when I was seeing it together, and he said, "This is good stuff. This is good storytelling. This is going to win awards, and don't compromise on the post production." I said, "Like, look, I have run out of money." He said, "No, no, no. Even if you have to take a little more money, you have to take loans. Just do a good job. Do good music. Do good sound effects. Do good mixing. Do good post production. Don't compromise." I said, "Okay. I mean, this is the only movie that I'm going to make in my life, so let me do what it takes." And that's how it got made. And so he was the one who saw the potential in this. I just thought that as long as it's a decent movie, I'm okay with it. And I can tell you 100 other things that it could have been better on. It's probably 20% of what I wanted the movie to be.
Oh my goodness! Wow, I can't wait for your next project, which is going to be, hopefully 100% of what you want it to be, and I'm going to be so impressed. I know that.
Thank you. May your words come true.
Oh, let's go back to some of the technical parts that I was talking earlier about. So, we were talking about quality control, and you said you didn't want to compromise on the post production process. That made me think of some of the scenes in the movie and some of the details. The attention to detail was amazing. A little bit of a disbeliever myself in, the Indian animation levels. And so just the fact that, let me give you an actual example, when the father has a nightmare, when he wakes up from his nightmare, his lips are quivering, You didn't have to do that. But when I saw it, I got goosebumps. I was like, okay, the attention to detail is absolutely amazing. When you're showing the lanterns in a house or outside somewhere, there are moths flitting around it. Again, you didn't have to show it, but the ambiance gets created with such little attention to detail. People's eyebrows are quivering in anger, when they're showing somebody angry, the eyebrows. Some of the older cows, the teacher cow in the cow shed, you can see the little moles and the little wrinkles, and you can tell that this is an old teacher cow versus the student cows. And to me, that level of attention to detail was absolutely stunning. How much of it was just good people doing their job, and how much of it was, actual attention to detail and quality control by one person saying, "Hey, this, we've got to prove that Australian guy wrong, so let's do it right."
Yeah. Partially, some of it that you're talking about is the brilliance of the character designer who designed that old cow in a certain way, the father in a certain way. And the second thing that we did was, like, if you see a normal animation movie which was done on a shoestring budget, they would probably use library stuff.
Correct.
In this movie, almost every shot was drawn again and again and again. Okay, wow. So because the amount of detailing that you require for a shot that's far away versus something that's focused close is different. Correct. So the volume is different, the expressions are different, the detailing is different. So this got drawn again and again for every shot. And therefore, so we said we will do a few things, but we will do a few things well.
Yeah, very
So we'll not pack it every 3 seconds with this real action-packed thing, but it had a sattvic, nice storytelling going on. But whatever we showed on screen should look good. And this was a decision that was taken very early. It was a conscious decision. And some of the other things that we could do, like the molds that you saw and things like that, were things that we thought through when we were executing the project, because like it was real time on Google Hangouts that I could actually see the person doing the compositing. So what happens in an animation studio is you don't watch each other work. But I had the absolute privilege of watching all this from a distance, right? Thanks to technology. And even physically, people don't meet each other in a department, in a company, right?
True.
So while you go home, you just see the finished product. But like as the product was getting made, I could say, hey, it'll look good if we can kind of like have this curvature, do this and things like that. And if it was something that was possible, I had this amazing team that would say, give us 5 minutes. Let's try doing that and we will show you an output. And if you like it, we'll move on with that. So we could change a lot of things in the end because we had all the components in our hands and in our control. Okay, that's second, which very many studios don't have the advantage of doing.
Right, the benefit of working in a non-studio environment, it's right there.
Yes. Yeah, and the third advantage that we had was like some of the things that you saw regarding the animation and the detailing of the animation was the quality of the animators that we got. Like who kind of said that like, I think we should do a little more in this space and things like that. Yeah, because we gave them the freedom, right? Like we did not give them one library and said, go work with this. Right? Like we gave them very detailed drawing, the eyebrows, the changes in expression, everything was drawn and given to them so they could work with it. And it was like made for every scene. It was a la carte.
Yeah. Wow, so, fantastic.
So the Kalinga who wakes up after his nightmare, that set of drawings is not the drawings that was used anywhere else apart from that particular scene. So it was hand-drawn again and again and again.
Right. My goodness, such intense work. This has to be a passion project.
It has to
say. Yeah. Mr. Ravishankarji, I want to contradict you on something you said before, and I want to clarify it for the viewers. So you said before that, this isn't, an action-packed movie, things happening all the time. I beg to differ because for the viewers, let me tell you, this movie has everything you would expect from a movie. It has a great storyline. It has emotions. It has family. It has songs. It has amazing music. And my favorite, it has fight scenes. You have fight scenes, the fox and the tiger, and there is stuff happening. It's not your, grandma's old-fashioned Sanskrit language movie. It's not. It's, an action-packed movie that I could watch with my family. I could watch it, by myself. I could watch it again and again and continue to enjoy the film as a film. So I just wanted to clarify that for the viewers.
Thanks. I mean, you are the best judges. Okay. I mean, we do what we can do with the things that are provided for a project, right? But then you are the ultimate judge. If that's how it's presented, I mean, perceived, I would be the happiest person, right? Like at least someone giving me feedback that's very warming to my heart.
Of course. I, as you can tell, I thoroughly enjoyed the movie myself. Tell me a little bit, we were talking about music. So tell me a little bit about the music. The music is beautiful. You have songs in it. And, it's one thing to write spoken dialogue, and it's a whole different thing to write songs. A language as, in my mind, hard as Sanskrit, it's, in my mind, it's hard enough to write dialogues, and then you have to write songs. They have rhymes, they have meter, it's beautiful music. I was humming, the tunes stuck with me, and I was humming the tunes later, even though I couldn't say the words myself. I don't know Sanskrit, but it stuck with me. The music stuck with me. Tell me a little bit about how that music came together and the writing of the songs, too.
Yeah, sure. This is the most magical part of the movie, right? Like I had doubts as to who will write songs in it. And to let you know that like writing songs in Sanskrit is the easiest thing on the earth. For a Sanskrit lover, okay, for a person who knows Sanskrit, because the language is so rich.
Uh-huh.
And if you look at the amount of work that's been done on the meters and the rhymes and this one, like, let me give you a small example. There is a rhyming meter called the Gomutrika. What it means is that
Uh-huh.
if you pick the first word from the first line and the second word from the second line and the third word from the first line and this one, and you join them together, you get another line from that.
Wow.
Okay, so it's just like how Western music is written. Like one harmony is written and another harmony is written, and they can actually meet. They are actually two songs playing together,
Yeah.
and there is no other master who knows this more better than Sri Ilayaraja sir. And so it was my blessings that I had his music for the movie, and he was the first one to tell me, even before anyone believed in the movie. When I first told him the story, he told, if you get someone to produce this movie, you should tell this story to the world, and I will give music for this. He was the first one to listen to the story, and I said, if Raja sir is endorsing this, then I must make this movie. Yeah? And so the tunes came first. So Raja sir told me, I'll give you the tune, you will have to get someone to write it. And how do I know who would write it? I was like wondering who's going to write a song for me. And one day, out of the blue, during the crowdfunding campaign, someone wrote me an email saying, do you want songs written for your movie? And I was like, yes, of course. And do you know, have you finalized on the lyricist? I said, like, are you the lyricist? She says, no, I'm not. But I know a person. He's a medical doctor, but he's a Sanskrit kavi. Okay? He's a Sanskrit poet. And if you want, I can check with him if he can write the lyrics. So I said, look, I know what the Antara needs to say. I know what the Mukata needs to say, and like what are going to be the contents of the song. So let me give you one song as an example. Can you ask your friend if he can write a song based on that? And she says, do you know how you want the song to be? Like which meter? Can you give a reference song? I said, yeah, I want the reference to be something like this. You know?
Okay.
And she says, okay. Then I think that like maybe a week later, I'm going to get a song. And like I go have lunch, and after 5 minutes, I come and check. I have an email with a song.
Great story.
I'm like, I mean, who writes a song in 5 minutes? Like, and it has, I'm not even qualified to judge whether the song is good. It has everything that I wanted it to convey. And exactly in the sequence that I wanted to convey. And this person is, he's a medical doctor called Dr. Shankar Rajaraman. He lives in Bangalore, in the same city that I live in. And he can write songs just out of the blue in seconds.
Wow.
And you can challenge him. You can give the same song in 10 different meters, and he'll give you a song in every meter for the same content.
Oh my goodness.
And this is not his profession. He just does this because he likes it. Okay? Wow. And that's the kind of people you have in this Bharatavarsha. Okay?
Oh my goodness.
And finally,
yeah, so no, you're filled with such talent. My goodness.
And then, like, I had a person in Infosys. He's a IIT mathematics graduate. He works on very complex banking software, and he writes Sanskrit songs. Okay?
That is amazing.
And imagine this, and I didn't know this, and this person and my colleague in Infosys are friends.
It's a small world.
And I go to Raja sir, he gives me the tune, my colleague from Infosys travels with me, and Dr. Shankar Rajaraman's father is ill, he's in Bangalore in a hospital, and this friend of mine gives the tune on telephone to my friend in Bangalore, and in sitting inside the hospital, he writes the song exactly the way Raja sir wants it.
Oh my goodness, what a great story. Oh my, when everything has to come together, the universe just makes it happen.
I know. I am in utter disbelief, Deepika, that this happened. Okay? And you will not believe, and there is something that I have not told many people, and I will share it with you now. there's something special about the way music was made for this movie. Raja sir had not seen this song and what shots we are going to make for the song, right? So he told me, you pick any song that you think is a reference from my work that suits this song, and I will give you a song that absolutely matches your visuals, but that will have no resemblance to the reference song that you have taken.
The other song.
And he took that and he gave me songs. I mean, tunes that I've never heard before. And that matched the visuals exactly.
Oh my goodness. There's a reason he's a magician.
He's a magician. He's a magician.
Oh my goodness. What a great story and how everything came together. Thank you for sharing such a wonderful, back end story with us. Really, really thankful and grateful for you. I want to ask you something. The way you're explaining all of this, a lot of serendipitous, situations and circumstances. Was there any point during the production and the execution of the film where it just became so hard or so complicated that you felt like, what have I taken on? I'm in way over my head. I need to stop and maybe, pass it on to somebody else, and I just can't do it. Did you have moments like that?
Many. Almost once every day. Okay. Because you're expecting something, it's not happening the way you want to happen. And sometime in 2017, we ran out of funds and we didn't know where to go. We were pitching it to every person. You will not believe. Like, I would be having lunch and there would be a call and WhatsApp message that would say that maybe this person can help, and I will leave my lunch plate there and run. Take a taxi and run and meet that person. Thinking he could help me with the movie, with the funds, with something. Then then my wife said, okay, let's break some of the FDs that we have in the bank and let's move on with it. Okay.
That's a leap of faith. That's a leap of faith.
I wouldn't have come here if it was not the help of anybody. And like, I was so upset, so frustrated. And like, people around me, like, why are you doing this? I mean, are you mad? And we didn't even know that it could succeed, it could not succeed, it could get done, it could not get done. There was so much uncertainty, right? And here I was, comfortable, cushy job, so much respect, just earning a living, paying my rent, and like, everything is working so well, and I had to take this on myself. Right?
To do something like this, like you said, people said, are you mad?
Now I'm so comfortable with my madness, Deepika. That much I can comfortably say. So, though I should say I've become a little bit sane in the last 1 year, which is not good for me. So, yeah. So I did have a streak of madness. See, I just, like, my friends will tell me, I can never make a risk slide in a project presentation, right? I'm very naive, okay? So I can't think that something can go potentially wrong until it goes wrong. Okay? So I would presume that, like, it will go well.
Correct.
Until it doesn't go well. I mean, that's how I brought. Like, when I write, I'm dyslexic, and when I struggle to write a lot of stuff, when I write, I often miss the word NOT. So that's somewhere not in my dictionary at all. So if I say I cannot make it for this meeting, I will write I can make it for the meeting. That not will not come when I am typing. Okay,
so you've committed to it anyway. So
yeah. So I'm comfortable with it now.
Wonderful. What is your advice to people who are maybe as crazy as you are and have passion projects that they want to create and produce and execute, and not necessarily filmmaking, but anything that they want to do to challenge their minds and hearts? What is your advice? Because you have gone through a process that was completely foreign to you, and you have been so successful at it. What would your advice be to somebody who's trying to do something that is out of their comfort zone, and also, if they are constrained by, social pressures, financial pressures, life pressures? what would you say to them?
Okay. Uh, my first advice to them would be that do it anyways. Okay. Because even if you don't succeed, it will leave you in a place that is very different from where you started.
True.
And take one small step every day towards it. Like when things were not going well and we did not know, I mean, I thought I will complete this project in 2017 or 18. It took me up until one more year than I expected it to go. But I kept telling, even if it was just like one shot per day, I will do it. Someday it will get completed. Right? I'm not going to stop doing this project. And second thing that I would tell them is, don't worry if it is your calling or not, whether this is the calling or that is the calling. Okay, try it, because if you don't try it, you will not know if that was your calling or not.
True.
Right? So, and if it is not your calling, leave it and try something else. Okay, and if that is not your calling, try something else. At least you are doing something more than just surviving.
True.
And it will certainly take you somewhere. It will certainly, like, I am a very, very introverted person. Okay. I can never come in front of the camera. The first time Vishberry told me that I have to make a pitch video, my sound just would not come out. Okay. I had to make 7 versions of it. And finally they gave up. I did not. Right? Like I said, I will do any numbers, but they said all of them are poor in quality. So we'll pick the 7th one. Okay. Okay. So but today I said that Punyakoti is above all of these things. I will go meet anybody. I will talk to anybody. I will send SMSs to anybody. I will WhatsApp anybody. And I am okay if I tell you the amount of people that have rejected me, that I've gotten upset about, that I've cried as in literally cried. Okay. And like my wife would tell me like, what's wrong with you? I said like, no, I am not doing this anymore. So, but like that is what it takes to do big things in this life. And and I keep telling, get over this feeling that you are doing it. Always think that it is through you that it is getting made.
Wow, that is such a what an interesting distinction you are making. That is amazing.
And I did not get this wisdom in a day, I can tell you. I mean, like I suffered every human fall that you can think of. And but I was saying it, right? Like for me to get it, it took some time. That even today, I think that Punyakoti has a life on its own. I was just chosen to do it, and it had to be made. And I'm just like a nimittam in the whole thing.
Wow.
And look at what Punyakoti has given me. I mean, like I am overwhelmed. Right? Like I won't be sitting here and talking to you or to go to all these forums, talk about all these things. If I had not done that, I would not have met a Ilayaraja sir. I would not have met a Revati madam. Right? I would not have met some of the Kannada stars. I would have had the opportunity to have them on WhatsApp sending me wishes. Right? This would not have happened if I just got into the bus and like went to office, worked and came back. So all of it took the limits.
Yeah. Well, how inspiring. I'm feeling so inspired talking to you today. So thank you. I really appreciate it. And I know we are, close to time. I do have a couple of more questions. And you mentioned Revati Madam. And tell me a little bit I wanted to ask you about the voice talent. Now, if you are in a Bollywood type setting, you will get hundreds of people who can dub, in the Hindi language, in the English language, in local, other regional Indian languages. Sanskrit, people who speak it fluently and are able to dub in an animated film, couldn't have been easy to find. Tell me, how did you find voice talent for the movie?
The only other person who could speak fluent Sanskrit in my family was my daughter. Okay, so she had a natural inkling to speak, and she was good in Sanskrit and things like that. I could understand Sanskrit, but could not speak much or like do something with that. I had this one phone call at 11:30 p.m. in the night when I was crowdfunding, and this was a young scholar in Europe who was studying physics and things, whose passion was Sanskrit. And he told me, "Do you know Professor S.R. Leela in Bangalore?" I said, "No. Who is she?" "Oh, you know that she's been working for the last 40 years in Sanskrit playwright." Okay, playwright.
They're all in your city, sir.
And the next day, he gave me her number. I called her and I told her that, like, I'm making this movie, I have this. She said, "Oh, I've been doing Sanskrit plays for the last 40 years, and all my students are in various stations of life. And, like, I just have to give them a phone call and they will be at my beck and call. You just come with the script, we'll get the dubbing done."
Oh my goodness.
And she supervised the entire dubbing. She gave the voice for Ajji, the old woman who speaks. She has worked in G.V. Iyer's movies, and she is amazing. And when we got stuck, she took money from her pension and gave me money to run the movie. And
oh my goodness.
I met Revati through a school friend's wife's friend's sister's friend.
Okay. You really called in those favors, didn't you?
So somebody told somebody that somebody is making a movie like this, and then Revati said, "I want to meet the director." So I went to Chennai, met her. I said, "I don't know, madam, how to start." And she said, no, you don't have to sell it to me because I'm already sold. Okay. You just have to tell me what I have to do.
Right. Oh
and
goodness.
She took a flight, came to Bangalore, dubbed for the movie, learned the dialogue sitting with my daughter. She still calls my daughter her teacher. Okay. And what's more, she gave money. So I said, "Can I pay for at least your flight tickets? Or shall I pay for your dubbing?" She says, "No, you will need this money to make the movie. I've been a director. I know what it takes to make a movie. So you keep the money with you." And when we went for the second round of funding, on the last day, she says, how much short are you? I said, 2.5 lakhs. She said, "I'm sending money. You complete your campaign." And still you have Revati's daughter's name mentioned as one of the co-producers in the movie. I mean, you talk about blessings. I have been blessed and thrice blessed.
What
So that's how the voice talents came.
Yeah. Go ahead. Please.
One of the voice talent was a registrar in the Karnataka University. The other one is a Sangeet Natak Academy winner. She has revived puppetry in Karnataka. The other person is like a Kannada superstar. He works in Hollywood. He played a role in the Hollywood movie The Man Who Knew Infinity on Dr. Ramanujam.
Oh yeah, of course. I've seen that movie.
Yeah. So he plays the journalist, the Iyengar journalist, and like he came. He came. No, when he came to Bangalore, he dubbed for Kalinga.
Wow.
I didn't even know who these people were.
Amazing. But when it has to happen, everything comes together.
Everything
So
has to
perfect.
happen. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. I think your passion, gave life to the vision. Of course, that's amazing. Before I let you go, sir, today I do want to come back to something that you had raised very early in our conversation today. You talked about the fact that the next step that you want to take this movie is towards learning modules and gamification. Tell us a little bit more about that. You are hoping to use snippets and scenes from the movie and educate people in the language learning of Sanskrit, correct? So where would it be used and by whom would it be used?
Okay. So one thing is I'm requesting the education boards in India to use this movie as a tool for students to get exposed to the language of Sanskrit. And we don't know how, where and how long those things are going to take and what is the paperwork and things. But I think, at least from my side, what I want to do is anybody who is desirous of learning Sanskrit, they should have access to the scenes in the movie. So I'm hoping to make small modules out of it. And right now I'm thinking of putting it on YouTube and giving people access to this. So they can enjoy it as a full movie, perhaps from an OTT platform or something, but they can get snippets of the movie and get exposed to the dialogue, what's getting spoken, how the story got constructed, and all of those through that. It has a great potential for gamification, and let's hope at some point of time it becomes a game and kids can play with it and learn some Sanskrit on the sides as well. Yeah, so those are some of the ideas that I'm working on.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I love that, and I hope that you can make it happen very soon. Good luck to you on that. So you said before that for the last 1 year you've been rather sane. What are your next projects of insanity and passion?
Okay, so see, what happens is it's like getting addicted, right? You go through so much of suffering and you say, this is the last, I'm not going to do this anymore. And people come back to you and said, like, one thing that I woke up to is the kind of team that I have built in the course of doing this. Because it's not easy to put together a team that can make an animated movie of this quality in India. The kind of talents, the kind of process that we kind of have evolved, the kind of insights that we have. So everybody said you should make another movie. I said, like, yeah, if I find a producer, I will make one. This time I'm not going to do that. Yeah. So I did a couple of small videos on some of the great Indian women leaders who fought against the Portuguese and the Mughal invasion and things like that. So that was a very fruitful thing that I had done. Right now I'm working on a script that could take some of the biggest philosophical ideas to the child. And it's one of the biggest challenges that I have taken up. I don't even know how I'm going to see the light of it. Okay. So I've taken up one of Shankaracharya's Mahavakyas, like Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi. These are very deep things, very
complicated concepts.
Very complicated, very, very layered kind of thinking. And like, how do you present to a child in a very entertaining manner? So I'm praying that the same gods that blessed me for Punyakoti and with all the exposure that people like you are giving me, that it will see the light of the day.
Of course, our heartiest good luck to you for this project. It sounds fascinating. It sounds really interesting. And we will be in touch with you. And hopefully when you bring that project to fruition, we'll bring you back here and have you talk to our viewers again. Good luck for that project and all future projects, sir.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, I thank you for your time, sir. Really, really grateful for spending your time and for sharing your lovely stories with us. We had such an entertaining time, but also a very inspiring time. So we really appreciate that. For our viewers, sir, any last words or please tell us where our viewers can catch Punyakoti?
Yeah. So a lot of people tell me, oh, the movie is out there. Oh, I didn't know that it was out there. Okay. Right now, it is on 2 platforms. One is Plexigo. It's a mobile app. The other one, it is on a platform called Book My Show Stream. The links to all of this can be found on www.punyakoti.com. So do go to punyakoti.com, check out the movie. Don't stop with the trailer. Watch the full movie. Get some exposure, and it is streaming with subtitles. So don't miss the subtitles. So don't think that I will not be able to understand the Sanskrit movie and things. But don't miss the movie. And I don't have a marketing budget. So the biggest weakness that I've had in the entire series of the life cycle that I've done is like I've not had a big amount of marketing. So all the marketing that's happening for Punyakoti is happening through Punyakoti only. Right? Like it's because of its own satkarma that it is reaching people, word of mouth and things like that. A few of my colleagues are extremely upset that I'm not making a lot of money after all the effort that I put in, but I'm okay with that. I'm not looking for financial wealth here. I'm looking. My desire is that people watch the movie, spend that 85 minutes of your life to watch a Sanskrit movie, share it with your friends. The biggest thing that you can do to me and to the team that has worked on this, they are all animators. These animators and artists are not like extremely rich people. They struggle a lot to make two ends meet. They are just like any traditional artisans in India. So watch it for their behalf, propagate it, share it with your friends and family. And that is where I think that's the least that we can do to our culture. And if we lose Sanskrit, the loss is ours. The loss is not Sanskrit's loss.
True. Very well said, sir. Very well said. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate, we know you're a busy guy. We really appreciate that you came and talked to us and our viewers today. From all of us at Bharat Media and Bharat TV, we thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And it was my pleasure. And this was time well spent. Thank you very much, Deepika, for the insightful questions.
Oh, great. Thank you.